In 1959, 9 experienced hikers vanished into the freezing Ural Mountains, and what searchers found afterwards still makes no sense. Their tent had been cut open from the inside, as if something outside terrified them so badly they fled into sub-zero temperatures without shoes or coats. Investigators found the group scattered across the mountainside, some barefoot, some in only underwear. Several bodies had crushing internal injuries with no external wounds, the kind of damage usually seen in high-speed car crashes, yet there were no signs of an avalanche or struggle. One woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Radiation was detected on some of their clothing. The Soviet investigation was abruptly closed, citing a vague, compelling natural force. Decades later, scientists proposed a rare slab avalanche theory, but it still doesn't explain every detail. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in modern history, and it's not the only signal from the unknown that has left experts stunned. In August 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a signal so strange that an astronomer circled it in red pen and wrote one word: "Wow." The signal lasted 72 seconds, was incredibly strong, and came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It matched almost exactly what scientists expected an artificial extraterrestrial signal might look like. Researchers scanned the same patch of sky again and again for years, hoping to catch it a second time. Nothing ever came. No known natural phenomenon fully explains its narrow bandwidth or its sudden appearance and disappearance. Some suggested a passing comet emitting hydrogen gas, but that theory has been heavily disputed by other scientists. Others believe it may have been a one-time reflection of a terrestrial signal bouncing off space debris. Whatever it was never detected again, despite decades of searching. The WOW signal remains the closest thing we have to proof of a message from beyond, and like our next mystery, it involves a sound with no clear origin. In the small town of Taos, New Mexico, residents began hearing a low, constant humming sound in the early 1990s, but here's the strange part: only about 2% of the population could hear it. Visitors from outside town heard nothing at all. Those affected described it as a distant diesel engine idling somewhere just out of sight, a sound that never stopped, day or night. It caused headaches, nosebleeds, and sleepless nights for years. The government even sent researchers from Los Alamos National Laboratory and the University of New Mexico to investigate using sensitive audio equipment. They found no external source. No machinery, no seismic activity, nothing that matched the frequency people described. Some scientists suggested it was a form of tinnitus triggered by environmental stress, but that theory failed to explain why the sound was so consistent across different individuals who had never met. The Taos hum has since been reported in other cities worldwide, and to this day, nobody has recorded its source. In December 1872, a ship called the Mary Celeste was found drifting in the Atlantic Ocean, completely seaworthy, fully stocked with food and water, but with not a single person on board. The crew's belongings were untouched. Valuables were still in cabins. A half-eaten meal sat on the captain's table as if someone had just stepped away. The lifeboat was missing, suggesting the crew abandoned ship in a hurry, but the weather logs showed no storm severe enough to justify panic. There was no sign of piracy, violence, or struggle anywhere on the vessel. Theories over the decades have ranged from a methane gas explosion in the cargo hold to a sudden seaquake that frightened the crew into evacuating. None have ever been proven. The 10 people aboard, including the captain's wife and young daughter, were never found, alive or dead. The Mary Celeste remains the most famous ghost ship in maritime history, and its silence is matched only by an ancient book that has never been read. The Voynich manuscript is a book written in a language nobody has ever been able to translate, and it's been studied by codebreakers, linguists, and even military cryptographers for over a century. The book is filled with detailed illustrations of plants that don't match any known species, strange astrological diagrams, and pages of flowing, elegant handwriting in an alphabet that matches no known language on Earth. Carbon dating places its creation in the early 1400s, ruling out modern hoax theories. During World War II, some of the best codebreakers in the world, the same people who cracked Nazi ciphers, tried and failed to decode it. Some researchers believe it's an elaborate medical or herbal text written in a lost regional dialect. Others believe it's simply an elaborate hoax designed to fool a wealthy buyer centuries ago. Advanced AI language analysis in recent years found patterns consistent with real language structure, deepening the mystery rather than solving it. To this day, not one page of the Voynich manuscript has been reliably translated. On December 5, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy bomber planes took off from Florida on a routine training mission and simply vanished into thin air, along with 14 crew members. This was Flight 19, and it became one of the founding stories of the Bermuda Triangle legend. The lead pilot radioed that his compass was malfunctioning, and that the ocean below looked wrong, unfamiliar, as if they were lost in an area they had flown 100 times before. Radio transmissions grew increasingly panicked before going silent entirely. A rescue seaplane sent to find them, carrying 13 more men, also vanished the same night. Despite one of the largest search operations in naval history, involving hundreds of ships and aircraft, not a single piece of wreckage was ever recovered from either plane. Investigators later blamed navigational error and rough seas, but the complete disappearance of debris still puzzles researchers today. 19 men gone without a trace, and the ocean never gave up its answer. In 1997, underwater microphones designed to detect Soviet submarines picked up an incredibly loud sound rising from the depths of the Pacific Ocean, and it was unlike anything scientists had ever recorded. They named it the bloop. The sound was powerful enough to be detected by sensors over 3,000 miles apart, which meant whatever produced it had to be enormous, far larger than any known animal on Earth, even larger than a blue whale. For years, this fueled wild speculation about massive unknown sea creatures lurking in unexplored ocean trenches. Eventually, researchers at NOAA determined the sound's acoustic profile matched that of ice quakes, massive Antarctic icebergs cracking and fracturing deep underwater. Case closed, officially. But some researchers still point out that the original recording was captured incredibly far from Antarctica, raising questions about how the sound traveled that distance so clearly. Whether it truly was ice or something science hasn't classified yet, the bloop remains one of the eeriest sounds ever pulled from the ocean depths. Overtown Bridge in Scotland has earned a chilling nickname over the decades, the Dog Suicide Bridge. Since the 1950s, dozens of dogs have inexplicably leapt off the same stone bridge to their deaths, always from the same spot, always on clear, calm days. Witnesses describe the dogs acting completely normal one moment, then suddenly sprinting toward the exact same ledge and jumping, sometimes even climbing back up and trying again. Local legend traces the phenomenon back centuries, tied to old stories of a minister who once threw his baby off the bridge believing it was possessed, then jumped himself. Scientists have offered a more grounded theory, suggesting the dogs catch the powerful scent of mink or other small animals hiding in the stonework below, driving them into an overwhelming chase instinct. But that theory doesn't explain why the phenomenon is so heavily concentrated at that specific ledge and nowhere else along the bridge. Locals still avoid letting their dogs off leash anywhere near that spot.